Hi, welcome to In the Kitchen with Mike. I'm Mike Retzi. I'm the executive chef here at Bellaire at Stoneport. And today I'm going to show you all how to make pancakes from scratch, along with a homemade strawberry syrup to put on top. So, before I get started, I do want to say I know I'm not wearing a mask right now, but that's just so you guys can hear me better. There is nobody around and nobody's going to be eating this food, so we are keeping our residents safe. Just want to throw that out there so everybody's aware. Now that we're going to get started, I'm going to start with our strawberry syrup, okay? So what we're going to use 1 pound of strawberries, 1 cup of sugar, about 1/4 cup of water, and then 1 teaspoon of lemon or lime juice. And so what I've done is I've taken the strawberries, cut the stems off, and put them in the blender with some water to get this nice strawberry puree, essentially. And we're going to use that. We're going to add that to our pot. If you don't want seeds in your syrup, then when you blend your strawberries, go ahead and run them through like a cheesecloth or strainer or something like that to get the seeds out. And that'll keep them out of your syrup. I left the seeds in because I don't mind them, but we're gonna go ahead and just dump our strawberry puree into our stock pot. All right. And then I'm gonna turn this on. We're gonna put it onto like a medium heat. And then we'll go ahead and add our sugar in there. And then our lemon or lime juice. I'm using lime juice, but either one is good. You really want the citric acid in there because it helps preserve the syrup, so it'll last for a while. I'd say once it's done, you can keep it for about 3 to 4 weeks in your refrigerator and it'll still be good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix all this up and let it get nice and hot. Almost to a low boil is what we're looking for. All right, so we want to whisk this nice and well. We're basically melting the sugar and caramelizing it, but we want to make sure it's thoroughly mixed in the pot there. And then we're just going to let this heat up and come to a simmer. All right, so now that our strawberry syrup is on a slow boil, we're going to let it simmer for a little bit. But you'll notice that as you do that, you get this foam here on the top. So we're going to want to scoop that foam off. So we're just going to tilt the pan to the side and just skim the foam off the top. And then just set it aside, throw it away. We don't really need the foam. We just want the syrup that's in the bottom. All right, so now that we got all the foam off the top, I'm just gonna let this keep simmering for a little bit longer. You wanna let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. The longer you let it cook, the thicker your syrup will be. So if you like a thinner syrup, then maybe don't cook it as long, but if you like a thick syrup, then maybe let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Just cook it to your liking. All right, so we're just about there. You can make sure that you stir it occasionally. You don't want the sugar to burn, so just make sure you keep stirring it regularly. And then what we're gonna do is, now that we're done, I'm gonna just set it aside, let it cool down a little bit. Your syrup will thicken a little bit as it cools, but we're gonna let that cool off before we put it on our pancakes. All right, so now that our syrup is made, we're gonna move on to the pancakes. And so again, these are from scratch, so you don't need the box mix. And most of this stuff people have in their house anyway. So, and you can't beat homemade fresh pancakes. So what we're gonna do is we need 2 cups of flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then a pinch of cinnamon. We're gonna mix all these together into our mixing bowl, just to kind of get them well blended. And then what you're gonna wanna do is create a little bit of a crater in the center of your bowl. So we have this crater in the center, and that's gonna be for all of our wet ingredients. And so that way we're gonna gradually mix everything together as we go. I know most box mixes tell you to put the liquid in first and then add the powder, but that's not the way to go. With this, you definitely want to do your powder first, or your dry ingredients first, and then add your liquids to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla, some melted butter or softened butter, whichever one you've got. If you have the patience to let it soften at room temperature, then do that. If you're impatient like I am, take your 1/4 cup, throw it in the microwave, melt it for 30 seconds, and it works just as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix those together a little bit, kind of stirring in the flour just a little. And then we're gonna go ahead and crack our eggs into the bowl. Oh, don't put the shell in there. And then we're gonna go ahead and mix this up. And basically, you're slowly working your way outside so that you're getting rid of all the clumps of flour. And you want this to thicken as you go. Because the thicker it is, the easier it is to get rid of your clumps of flour. But we don't want to mix all of the flour in there at once, because otherwise it's going to be super thick and hard to mix. All right, so now that's about as thick as I want to go, because otherwise it's going to start sticking to the whisk. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of half and half at a time. We're going to use 1.5 cups. If you don't have half and half, milk works too. But I'm going to go ahead and put about half of it in first, and we'll mix that in. Kind of the same way we did with the other stuff, kind of work from the inside out, slowly bringing in the flour from the outside. And again, this just helps get all of your clumps out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of our half and half. And then we're just gonna keep mixing until it's nice and thoroughly mixed. We try to get all the lumps out. We want a nice smooth pancake mix. All right, so we're just about there. So you want your pancake mix to be a little thick. The thicker your mix is, the thicker your pancakes are gonna be. So if you like really thin pancakes, then maybe add a little bit more milk or half and half to it, thin this out a little bit. If you really want a thick, dense pancake, then maybe just a little bit less milk. But this will give us a perfect like in between. All right, now that our pancake mix is all ready to go, I'm gonna use a griddle. If you have a griddle at home, I feel like they're awesome for making pancakes, because you can make multiple pancakes at a time. If you have one, great. Set it to about 350, and then let it heat up first. So you want it to heat before you add your pancakes to it. If you don't have a griddle, then you can use a saute pan. Same thing. Set it to about a medium-high heat, and let it heat up first before you put any pancakes in. The only downside is, saute pan, you can't cook as many as you can on a griddle. So we're just gonna take some of our mix, and pour it right there on our griddle. And then, make your pancakes as big or as small as you want. Some good alternatives is I put chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, walnuts, blueberries, whatever you like inside the pancakes. I like to put the pancakes down first, and then if I'm gonna put something else in them, I just sprinkle it in the top right there. So that way they cook into the pancake. All right, now we're just gonna let these cook for a minute. You'll see some of them are starting to bubble. All right, now that we've got a lot of bubbles and the edges start to dry out a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and flip these. You should get a nice golden brown color. All right, now that we've let them cook on the other side for a few minutes, these should be about ready to come off. So we're gonna go ahead and plate them up. And then all we have left is to add the syrup. So we're just gonna take our syrup and pour it over top. All right, well, there you have it. Nice homemade pancakes with strawberry syrup on top. A great way to get rid of the box mixes. Feel free to top this with whipped cream or powdered sugar and enjoy homemade pancakes.